Your thoughts on this trip of Nancy Pelosi's and how it was managed? Will she go to Taiwan? Does she need to?
Well, it's been mismanaged. It's been mismanaged by the Biden administration. And at this point, she does need to go for the sake of our national security, so that the American people see that the Chinese Communist Party is not the one dictating American foreign policy, that it is the American government doing that. But the Biden administration publicly talking about it ahead of time and then not backing up Nancy Pelosi with the media or on the call with President Xi Jinping. I mean, I think we've come to expect that President Biden, his weakness comes through. We didn't have high expectations for that call, but very clearly he did not back up the speaker's right to go to Taiwan. And as a result, President Xi is acting on that weakness.
Political analyst and professor at Curtin University, Joe Syracuse. Do you think she'll go, Joe?
Yes, I do, Pete. I mean, if she goes, we won't know about it until the visit's over, as a matter of fact. That's the way those visits to those kinds of places turn out.
Something will emerge on social media, though, don't you reckon, Joe?
Well, yeah, we'll probably figure it out. Look, what we do know for certain is Nancy Pelosi has made a career of antagonizing Beijing, beginning with one-person demonstration in Tiananmen Square in 1997. So, she's got a really good form on this to irritate these people. And everyone, the administration thinks it's a bad idea for a number of reasons, because they can't control what the Chinese are going to do. And the Chinese are under enormous pressure to do something about it. Xi is looking at his third term in office, and he's talking tough.
The Republicans certainly want Pelosi to do something that they did not dare to do when they were in office, and drag the whole Democrat-led government into the mess. As a result, the Biden administration would become the cannon fodder of the next Republican-led government, and the Democratic Party will suffer a major loss in the upcoming midterm elections. In my opinion, there will definitely be a military crisis if Pelosi insists to visit the island of Taiwan. I believe the Chinese mainland will take every measure to undermine her visit. The mainland will launch a no-fly zone over Taiwan, or even the PLA aircraft will fly to the island along with her visit. Everything is possible. If Washington doesn't stop Pelosi from visiting Taiwan, it has to prepare for military conflict.
So on a practical basis, what does the Pentagon need to do now? Because China's already warning that they'll respond.
Well, absolutely. So the Pentagon now, in response to the mismanaged Pelosi travel plans, the Pentagon has to be prepared. They have to move either carriers or fighters into place in the event that the Chinese would follow through on some of the rhetoric that's been out there about confronting a Pelosi-led, congressional delegation plane.
Look at what Vladimir Putin's done over in Ukraine, given that Biden is in power, and he's tested that completely. And I wonder if Xi Jinping may use this as his opportunity to have a crack at a weakened White House.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I were one of his advisors, I'd say probe as much as possible because the United States isn't doing too much. I mean, Biden has been very weak on all this. On top of everything else, he's bedridden with COVID, his second case of COVID in about 14 days. And so, I think it's time maybe that you're going to see the Chinese probe a little bit. It's quite clear that Biden doesn't want to fight. You know, he just doesn't want to fight. President Trump before him was risk averse. You can't be any worse in terms of trade or politics, but I think there'd be some kind of military application. Keep in mind that the PLA, which is their armed forces, has been spoiling for a fight. They're going to be under enormous pressure to show that they have done something. And I'm afraid that even if there's a demonstration of power and it goes haywire, that then something else worse would come. And of course, if the Chinese intervene, and I'm mostly worried, and other people are worried that there's going to be an accident. You know, what if the Chinese military try to accompany the plane into Taiwanese airspace, and then we got something new.
There's open source reporting about our intelligence community being concerned that China may move to invade Taiwan in the next 18 months. We have long known in the intelligence community that if the Chinese weren't able to, the Chinese government was not able to reunite Taiwan politically, that they would do so militarily. But it's always been nebulous and indefinite in a timetable, and we now know from our own intelligence reporting and from our allies in the Indo-Pacific that President Xi is talking about a timetable of moving on Taiwan in the next 18 months. And I don't think that's that's not a coincidence that happens to be the timetable during which Joe Biden will continue to be the American president. He has, as Secretary Pompeo said, you know, we had this debacle in Afghanistan. You know, the Biden administration lost and surrendered to the Taliban. They did not deter Vladimir Putin in Ukraine, and now we've got this unprecedented circumstance of China literally talking about an invasion of Taiwan through our intelligence community sources. Any one of these individual events would have been historic and noteworthy. The fact that all three of these things are happening during the Biden administration really speaks to what a disaster he has been as a foreign policy president.